Thank you, Laura, and welcome everybody. I'm looking forward to this because I've got to know Arnold in a very short space of time and have been fascinated by this fantastic value that I really think that can be passed on to our membership. The platform has been set up successfully to pass on that value. And so far, as the organization has benefited greatly from dealing with things that have been very difficult in challenging times. So today I'm looking forward to getting to know more about BrightTeach. But before we get to know more about BrightTeach, tell us a bit about yourself, Arnold.
Yes, as Paul rightly put, my name is Arnold. I was born in Kenya, but basically grew up in London. And I moved to Brighton to go to university, where after uni, I basically started this company, BrightTeach. But I'm actually what you would call I guess what you might call it a COVID newlywed. So I was planning on being married during this time, and there was going to be like 250 people. And me and my fiance, we saw it happening. So we ended up getting married quite early. There was only 20 of us there. And a load of people just ended up watching it online, which is great. So I'm loving the fact that I can be married to my wife now and live with her during this time. But I digress really. So I run a company called BrightTeach. I've been doing that for a few years. Yeah.
Brilliant. And tell me, how did you come across, just to let people know in terms of how did you come across BITA?
Yeah, sure. So, well, it was Paul, me and you, we have a mutual friend who's also called Paul. And he introduced me to you and the organization as a whole and everything that you guys do. People that know people that help people, which is great. And we've just, I guess, started this it's been a relationship, not for so long, but it's been a relationship so far. And here we are.
So I want to take people on the journey in terms of the whole idea of homeschooling. So here I am, a parent, where I have a 15-year-old, and if he were to get a virus, he'd probably get it from his computer. So when I heard about what you were doing, I was so interested as a parent myself, firstly. And then from an organization point of view. But I'm sure there are many, many, many people out there at the moment. They're faced with a situation where their best efforts of homeschooling have now been exhausted. And they're probably questioning themselves now saying, oh my God, what do we do next? So take us on a journey and give some tips in terms of how we can begin that journey with you and homeschooling in general.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, so as a company, basically what we used to do is, I mean, we've been providing tutoring for hundreds of students across the Southeast, that home tutoring. Then we had to quickly shift and provide online tutoring. The potential for that is we could be completely national, but we've realized that, like you said, what's happened now has been quite problematic for quite a few people who are professionals. You have to provide tutoring, you have to provide a homeschool environment while you yourself are working. And we've done a bit of research. We've come up with a few things that we think would be helpful for quite a few people who are new to the homeschooling one. One tip, I guess, which is quite important, is definitely do not try to mimic school. You're finding, in fact, I've seen this happen quite a few times, that parents are mimicking school, and they would say, oh my goodness, I need to do this, and I need to do that, and I need to do that, and it needs to be in this particular regimen, and so on. No, just completely cut that out. If you feel as though, you're going to, in fact, actually, experienced homeschoolers don't do this. So if you want to wake up a little bit later, you can. And if you want to start work a little bit later, you can. If you want to work outside, you can. So that'd be one tip. Definitely don't try and mimic school. The second tip, I think, would be to make sure that you maintain a schedule. Even though I've said try not to mimic school at all, it is still important to maintain a schedule, because that keeps strong like circadian rhythms. It means that you're sleeping properly. You want your children to be sleeping well and waking up well. You don't want them to be sleeping late and waking up late, because that really does affect their mood. Routine is so important. And actually, advice I'd give for people like you, Paul, and other people who have children who are a little bit young or a little bit older, sorry, is give them a kind of like a daily planner for them to fill out themselves, and you two come together to work out what is best during the season that we're in right now. And you can keep them accountable during this time so that they, you know, they actually do the work that they're doing, but they still feel that sense of responsibility. Even for us, at BrightTeach, we're really trying to support as many parents as possible. And we've developed a kind of like interactive daily planner where people can just go into it. We've got a template for people to follow, and you can print it out. It's color coded, or you can just fill it out yourself and keep it within yourself. And you can use that to make sure that you maintain a good routine. It's so important now. What is really, really essential is don't feel the pressure that as a parent, oh my goodness, I have to make sure that they know to the same degree that the teachers allow them to know. Actually, truth is, you're just trying to allow them to maintain a good, like, mental stimulation, so that when they go back to school, they feel ready and they're not lethargic, and they're actually prepared to do this whole thing, to do the whole thing again. Another tip I think that I'd probably give is make sure that you change the environment of your home. You find that a lot of students just children generally will associate school with work and home with rest, home with relaxation, chilling, PlayStation 4, Xbox, computer viruses, all of that. That's exactly what they'll associate home with. So you definitely want an area, even if it's just a table or a room or whatever, that is literally specifically for work. And then the rest of the house, that is for relaxing, chilling, and being on the PS4. Because what would happen is if you just automatically shift from hanging out to work on the same space, it just gets really confusing, and your child's just not really going to be able to engage during that time, and they won't be able to concentrate because all they're thinking about is relaxation thoughts. And you want to be able to put them in a place where they are understanding this is the place that I need to work. Even if they're older, it doesn't have to be necessarily younger students per se. It could be people doing their GCSEs or A-levels. It's just important to have a space that is, right, this is the table, or this is the room where I'm doing work. Another tip I think that I would give is, even though work is definitely important, make sure that you have rest breaks. Sometimes you might feel the pressure of having to push your child to do the work. Rest is so important. Actually, studies have shown that around about a child is able to concentrate for their age times by 2 to 4 minutes. So if they're 13, you're looking at 26 to 52 minutes. If they're 5, you're looking at 10 to 20 minutes. So, and throughout the whole day, a whole working day, with somebody who's like between year 1 and year 3, you're probably going to end up engaging them with 1 to 3 hours worth of work. And even people year 9 and older, maybe 4 or 5 hours as opposed to the whole day. So definitely take breaks and find out what they're doing. Take breaks with them as well. As parents, this is such a great opportunity to spend time with your children. So definitely take breaks with them and find out how they're doing with the whole studies. Yeah, another tip I think I'd give is make sure you embrace their interests. So what is it that gets them, what is it that they like? What do they enjoy about the subject? Or what is it that they enjoy, and you can bring the subject to that area. And even for me, whenever I'm tutoring, I find that there are students that I'm looking after, and they will say, like, I don't understand why I need to learn algebra. And I realize that actually quite a few of them are quite interested in business, especially like with me doing a business. They love hearing about what it is I'm doing. And I'll just scrap the work that I'm doing, and I'll say, well, let's just look at how I apply algebra with my day-to-day, how I use that to work out you know, profit margins and turnover and so on, and I have a value that is X, and I don't know what that value is, and I do a bunch of things to work that one out. And even for yourself, like if I guess that's where we come in as a company, because we would have tutors that are really passionate about that subject and are able to apply it into day-to-day things. able to help the student to understand how it is relevant and applicable in many things. You find that you're probably applying a range of subject areas into one task, and our tutors are able to bring that across.
Right. Well, you're answering nearly all the questions here that are in front of me, right? But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down so
Sure.
that we actually take people on the journey and they clearly understand. So in terms of, we'd say, let's talk about the youngest student. What is the youngest age and what is the age range that you deal with?
Oh, so, well, for us, we're literally from, year one up until A levels, we'll support.
And in terms of the hours that you recommend in terms of start, take us through that. So here we have a parent that's home at the moment. They've got 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we start? How many hours do you recommend to start, and how does that go?
Yeah, I think so. The way that we work as a company is we try to link the student with the right tutor. We're kind of like a dating app in one sense, and you will see exactly what the student needs, and we'll say we've got the perfect match for you. So it really depends on the student's desire, like how much they're wanting to know the subject, how much of the subject they know, the pressure between now and when their exams are. But normally we're around about 1 to 3 hours a week is a good time to start.
Right, okay. I have a lovely question here. Is there a subject that students particularly benefit from additional tutoring?
Oh yes, maths is a huge one. So you find that maths, because maths and English are the core subjects, when you see a child progressing in maths, their what's the word? Their kind of like aspirations and their self-confidence grows quite significantly. And I've found that has had a greater effect on all other subjects compared to all other subjects. Yeah, maths and English.
Okay, another question for you. Should we look to study a topic a day while they're off school, e.g. Monday English, Tuesday science, and vary it like that in different topics per day?
Yeah, definitely. You wouldn't want to do the same subject throughout the whole day. You want to change it up, because as you change the subjects, you find that you're still able to engage. Even if you do 5 hours or 5 different subjects, yeah, the student themselves are able to be like, oh, this is different now. We're going to biology. Oh, great, we're going into history now, and they're still able to do that. If you do 5 hours of just history, it's just not helpful. Not at all.
And in terms of, let's go to the tutors now. So in terms of the tutors, give us the backgrounds of the various tutors. How do you find them? What credentials do they come to you with? And tell us more about the process of you selecting your tutors.
Sure. Yeah. So the way that we've done things is literally all of our tutors, or all potential tutors, will apply, and then we will look through their CV, and we'll invite them in for an interview. We make sure that we take in tutors that have experience. Especially if they can give in references of how they've done, that is extra helpful. And we will have both qualified teachers as well as very experienced and passionate tutors. And then also we'll take them through an induction, kind of understanding exactly what our expectations as a tutoring company are, before we even allow them to talk to a student.
And in terms of the tutors themselves, they've gone through a transition in terms of going online. How have they coped, and what learnings had they had?
Yeah, sure. So going from at home to online, the coping has definitely been something that we've had to look at. And what's happened is you're really having to bring in more day-to-day application for that subject in order for it to be something that is still fun. The struggle is that they're finding, because they're at home, the thing it's not as fun to do anymore. So yeah, the way in which they're able to cope, at least with the tutoring anyway, is to change up the way that you're doing it, not doing it exactly how it is in the curriculum.
This is a great question. Can you teach an instrument online?
Yes. So we have done music tutoring. Yes, you can. And literally, as you're as you're teaching, you can start to show the chords, and some of the software that we have as well allows you to have like a PDF on one side while the camera is there, and you can either literally show that, or you can zoom the camera into that particular section. Yeah, not a problem at all.
Very good. Well, I believe we're also joined by, is it Alice and Max? Is Alison and Max with us?
Yes, I think they are here. That's right.
Yep. Hello.
Is that Max?
Hello.
Yes, this is Max.
And Alice, there you are. So from a perspective of your experience in terms of, so you've been tutored by a tutor, I presume, Max. From your perspective, tell me about your experience in terms of how you've enjoyed the experience. I mean, I know what my son has told me, and it could not be repeated on this channel, really. When he first went and realized that I was after collaring him into, you know, a school-like scenario again. But what's your experience like been so far?
It's been very good. Like, because usually some of the questions I have are a bit beyond the syllabus. But yeah, Honor was able to tutor me like very efficiently and really like help explore my interest in chemistry as well. Because I'm planning to do biomedical engineering, so I need to have like that interest. And I feel like it really helped me.
Very good. So do you tend to treat the tutor more like a buddy, and that you can ask difficult questions to and find out the basis of what you're having difficulties with, or is it more like a teacher?
I think it's more like a bit of both. Like, of course, there's still some like because Honor is very professional, but I feel like very comfortable. Like I can share my problems, even though I might ask stupid questions. Yeah, I still feel very confident. Yeah. Afterwards.
Brilliant. And Alison, over to you in terms of the experience. Tell me the difference it's made to you in terms of the whole mentality of knowing that that Max is kind of utilizing his time greatly and benefiting from the tutoring.
Well, I found really since Max have Arnold as a tutor, he really changed a lot. I think it's he always have lots of questions, which sometimes he can ask questions in school because, you know, teachers have so many students. So sometimes Max go to school and ask the teachers, very difficult. And then, but with tutor, it is more like it's just designed only for you, and you ask your own questions, and then your tutor exactly tell you what to do and solve lots of problems, and also will build up lots of confidence for Max.
Very good. And Max, in terms of your preference, do you prefer tutoring in the morning, in the evening, or late in the evening?
Oh, in the morning, because in the evening I just get groggy and tired. Can't concentrate as well. Yeah. Very
good. Well, listen, thank you very much for your contribution, and Alison as well. Back to you, Arnold, in terms of, for those people who are listening, how did they go about applying now to actually take them on that journey in terms of application and what the process is in finding the right tutor?
Sure, yeah, it's really easy process. Literally, you just go to, shows it right there, BrightTeach.com. And from there, you just pick the subject that you would like the tutoring in. You give us a little bit of information, and then what will happen is we'll give you a call or an email. We'll do an initial assessment on your child, and we'll find out exactly what they like, what they don't like, what they struggle with, and what they really enjoy, what they're looking for in a tutor, and then we'll send them an email matching them up with a tutor.
Yeah, there's a question here, and I just want to qualify from the question in terms of the question is, will you continue the online offering tutoring after lockdown ends? But I want you to explain that you've been here long before any lockdown. So if you could take us on that journey in terms of how long is the business in existence, and then answer the question in terms of what is the plans after lockdown ends.
So great question. Yeah, so we've been running for 4 years. and we've been providing, like I said, tutoring to hundreds of students across the Southeast. We even work with, you can see them here actually, the local councils and schools. So we have been doing this for a while, and we definitely do intend to allow the online section to be like an arm of BrightTeach. So we have kind of 3 arms, if you want to call it, or we will do. We have the mainstream tutoring, at-home tutoring, which would be providing, you know, GCSE A levels, primary, and so on. Then we have something called special educational needs. So we'll be providing tutoring for people who have dyslexia, dyspraxia, autism, Downs, and so on. And then we'll also be doing the online tutoring, and that will definitely continue after this, well into next year, and so on and so on and so on. Yeah.
Very good. And in terms of the, I mean, go back to my own situation again with Daniel. You know, he's now on his second session today.
Yeah.
And what I've tried to encourage him, and am I doing the right thing is the question. I've tried to encourage him to actually engage with the tutor and discuss things that he has difficulties with and doesn't know, as opposed to being in the comfort zone of continuing to ask, you know, things that he already knows. How do we coax that out of a 15-year-old in terms of getting him to challenge himself and find out the things, you know, because they can be shy, they can be kind of awkward in terms of communication. How can you help someone overcome that?
Oh yeah, there's quite a few factors actually. So, and it really depends on the particular student. So you find that with some students, constantly encouraging them on getting questions right allows them to have a deeper interest in that question the next time. So if you say, wow, just well done with that, you'll find that the next time they'll be like, oh yeah, I got that right. Wait, hold on, what about this then? Or they'll start to ask, as Max kind of put, you start to ask beyond the scope type of questions. With other students, you'll find that you just need to start to, instead of talking about the subject itself, just find out some of their interests. And then from that, you can say, oh, you know, that's actually linked in with what we're doing here. And they'll definitely take an interest through that. And I think even maybe as a parent to bring that out, kind of a passion for that subject. There's so many things online in terms of, I mean, Netflix alone will have a bunch of really interesting documentaries and videos about different types of topics. Really what is important, or what is just lacking within the child, is exposure to that subject, and that is what is important. Yeah.
Brilliant. In terms then of you know, the organization, to give us an idea of the size, how many tutors do you have?
Sure. So we're still growing. We have around about 45 tutors right now. Yeah, and that's mainly in the Southeast, but we're now, obviously, as you know, we're expanding even more.
And could you just take us through the process in terms of like things like, you know, people want to know, for instance, the DBS checking and all that kind of stuff? Is all that part and parcel of the process?
Yes, that's right. So our tutors will have their DBS, but then on top of that, BrightTeach actually does the whole enhanced DBSs as well. So if the tutor themselves doesn't have a DBS, we do it for them to make sure that they get it done, sorry. Yeah.
Brilliant. So we're offering for BITA members a lovely sizable discount of 10%. We'd like to encourage our members to consider this, especially at the moment and going forward in partnership. So I'm delighted to have met you. I'm delighted to be able to announce this to the organization, because I think there's tremendous value attached to this going forward, and it's going to be a wonderful relationship. And that is a very generous offer of 10% off for members. So thank you very much for that.
A pleasure.
Anything else that you'd like to add before we conclude today?
Well, no, I think it's been a pleasure, definitely, doing this, and I'm hoping that it's supportive. I really do think that now is a weird time, and getting as much support as possible is really helpful, and we're here to help.
Brilliant. Okay, well, listen, enjoy your happy life together.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing that story. For anybody who wants to engage, you can see it's www.brightteach.com. You can also contact Laura if you have any questions. and I'm sure we'll be hearing from Arnold again. What I would like you to do is perhaps, you know, in a couple of weeks' time, to come back, and what we will do is perhaps engage with some of the people in Beta, including my son, if I can prise him off the computer and get him in here to speak, which, you know, he might work on how I do that. But it'll be interesting to get the feedback of those members who have engaged with BrightTeach, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Yes, also I forgot to mention that if you type in, where is it, right there, Beta 10, that will allow you to be eligible for the discount. But yeah, I'd love to come in.
Fantastic. Okay, Arnold, thank you very much, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.